This time, we'll call the March Elizabethton Board of Education meeting to order. I'd like to welcome everyone tonight. We'll begin with a moment of silence and a pledge to the flag, and I'll ask Mr. Van Huss if he'll lead us in both of those.
Please stand. As we pause for a moment of silence, I ask that you remember the family of Landon Lavoie, a student from Elizabethton High School that we tragically lost last week. Thank you. Attention, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time, it's time to approve the consent agenda and the regular agenda. Can I get a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
And a second?
Second.
And any questions or anything need to be moved, anything like that? Okay, the item is to approve consent agenda and the regular agenda. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? And there are none. Next is time for citizens to speak, and we did have a Miss Caitlin Thompson request to speak. If Miss Thompson's here, she would come forward. Okay, I don't see her. All right, we'll move on. Now it's time for special recognitions. We appreciate those of you being here to be recognized and all the work that you've done. And again, at this time, I'll hand it over to Mr. Van Huss to walk us through that.
Okay, we have an individual or two that are still in transit here to the meeting, so we're going to do the order a little bit different. If we can go ahead and maybe, Mr. Colbert, if we can go ahead and do the culinary arts group right now first, please. Thank you.
Again, guys, go ahead and you can be making your way on up here, and I'll let Mr. Schertz do most of this. Obviously, I'm not much of a chef. I'll approve it when I point out to you the SRO at the high school and I were talking recently, and he talked about how particular they are at his house making peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. He mentioned that his family uses 2 knives to make peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. I'm still trying to figure out what the first knife is for.
Yeah.
Okay. Mr. Schertz, you want to explain this? You'd be far better explaining whatever the culinary contest, though.
So, excuse me, the pollen's taking a toll of everybody. We have a competition that joint economic development, what is that?
First Tennessee Development District.
So anyway, they put on a culinary competition. Last year there was 10. A few people I think got scared, like cold feet, because some of the people I think set the bar pretty high this last year. So there ended up being 6 this year. Still want to hopefully that doesn't tarnish our trophy here, but we're only 6 this year. But we got 3rd last year, and this year we were really pushing because my wife was one of the teams that beat us. And Side Hill had won. So we were really pushing. Zach and Chloe were on the team last year, and we have some other people. Sorry, I didn't announce. Chloe Kono, Zach Crow, Emily Dunlop, Kira Wolf, and Brady Cochran, and they were on there. And we have one guy who has a job. He got a job while he was at the competition at Blackthorn. Talking with the guy, he's our senior. And he's like, hey, yeah, so he's working. Today's his 2nd day. So anyway, you have to come up with a menu for 3 people. It's 3-course meal. So you have to present 3 dishes that are all the same, so they look good and things like that. And they give you, it's kind of like a mystery basket that we know about early. So there's 6 items, and we kind of work on trying to put that all together. So they work really hard. And before I forget, I want to tell the parents that I really appreciate all the time that they have to be at the school sometimes on Saturdays or like after school. That help them with trying to work on it. What do you guys have to say about it? Anything?
So yeah, this was, by the way, was held at Bristol Motor Speedway, which is kind of cool. The race was obviously just there a few days ago. And so they actually presented all this stuff in the Food City Suite, so overlooking the start-finish line at Bristol Motor Speedway. So a very picturesque day, very picturesque event. The kids did great. So again, congratulations to you all. Because I don't even remember what the dish was again.
So our thing was kind of Mediterranean, well, it's Indian. We went Indian. Because so the ingredients they had to use were chicken, whole chicken, so you have to break down the chicken all the way and stuff like that. Poblano chilies. You had a choice of, or whatever they prevent, cara or blood oranges, ginger, kale, and then the last one for us we thought was kind of an outlier, kind of weird thing, brie cheese. So you've got to somehow incorporate it all in there. So we have to do soup, salad, and entree. So we did mulligatawny soup, which is a British kind of Indian dish. It was really good. I think that was maybe a winner overall. But we did kale salad with all these different ingredients, and then we did roasted chicken, and we had like a chutney sauce that's Indian and stuff, and used all the things like that, different iterations.
And the judges were made up of people like the one restaurant you mentioned, I can't think the name of.
Yeah, Blackthorn.
They had like 5 or 6 different people.
Executive chef
Yeah.
for all of for Ballot Health, he was there. Why can't I think? Food City, who sponsored it all. Food City's executive chef. There's a lady who came in from New York, and she lives here now. But she used to be a private caterer and does all kinds of stuff, and now she works at I can't think of the place over in Jonesboro. Anyway, she does a lot of cooking classes and things over there, so she was there.
Those are the main four.
Yeah.
Those are the judges.
Yeah. So then they do that stuff, and they get judged on safety and sanity and how well they behave, kind of it. Were they dangerous, or did they, work well with their gloves, or not using gloves, or things like that. So anyway, hopefully it's all things. Hopefully that I'm teaching, trying to keep them on point with the class.
Yes, congratulations, you all. Y'all did great. So, round of applause.
Okay, for a picture, yeah, photo.
Yeah, on the podium. Oh, okay, yeah.
Did you beat your wife?
Yeah.
You did, okay. Yeah, in the competition. Yeah, in the competition, sorry. Let me clarify.
This year's leap year.
Okay.
Lorded that over, then I get her one more.
There you go, that's right.
There you
That's
go.
good. All right, sorry.
Great, thank you. Mr. Lee, if you'll come on up and share about the EHS Robotics Drone League.
Thank you so much for having us with you today. As most of you know, I am the new STEM instructor at Elizabethton High School, and it is a job that I have just been absolutely blessed with this year. And in August, when I took the job, I talked to Dr. Minton about starting a robotics club because Elizabethton High School had never had a robotics club in the past. And it went far above and beyond my expectations this year. So if you can imagine a farm being run by robots and drones, I had a set of students that proved that's possible this year. And we were blessed to compete in the RDL competition. We went to UVA Wise in December, and our goal was to qualify for nationals. And the group of students that I'm going to introduce to you not only qualified for nationals, but they were the top rookie team at UVA Wise. And we came back and we learned and we saw all these schools spending a lot of money on a lot of robots that we just didn't have this year. And my students took anything that we could find and adapted our robot to prepare for the national competition. And we just wanted to make finals. And I'm proud to say that Elizabethton High School finished second in the national competition this year with the rookie group. So I want to introduce this group of students to you, and then they have also brought something that they'd like to give to each board member. Growing from that, we will be competing in the first time for Elizabethton this year in the regional ROV competition, which is underwater robotics. They are just getting ready to start building that robot right after break. They started raising money for that. We were blessed to get a grant for that to help pay for that robot as well. We'll be competing in that, and then hopefully our goal again is to make the national competition, which is at the Kingsport Aquatic Center. Their goal beyond that, for those of you that like to watch BattleBots online, our students are in the process of raising money to build Elizabethton High School's first ever heavyweight BattleBot, and we hope next year to compete in the BattleBots competition. So that's our goal. So I'm going to introduce, our group has grown quite a bit, but these students competed at the RDL competition. Like I said, our goal was to make it, and they went far above and beyond that. And what they had to do, they had a robot that they built and programmed. They programmed that robot to run automated sequences, and then they had a drone that they programmed for automated sequences. And we also had pilots to do tasks that were given to us there on site. So they had to do things like identify different bugs, different issues on the farm, and then do the work. And they were able to do all of that. So first up, one of my two captains and our robot pilot, Mr. Cole Wolf.
Yay, Cole.
Next up, Cole is our drone pilot. Our robot pilot, Mr. Xander Jones. And as you can imagine, when you're trying to run a farm with robots, you need somebody that's in charge of logistics and somebody that can run logistics for you and keep your team together and keep your team, all these different components moving together. Our second captain, and she did a wonderful job with that this year, Miss Kylie Vance Osborne. And then, as you can imagine, we break a lot of stuff when you're dealing with robotics. And we have to keep that running. We have to keep our pit crew strong. And this young man runs the pit crew for us. He keeps everything running in the field and did an excellent job at that. He had some challenging situations this year and really adapted on the fly. And I'm super proud of him, Mr. Caleb Dillo. And as I said, we are in the process of raising money for next year's competitions and hopefully to do BattleBots. And the students, in their appreciation for allowing us to start the robotics club and everything that they've done, have actually made something for all the board members. So we're going to hand those out to you guys as well. And I'll give you just an example here. So it is a coffee cup with the Cyclone logo engraved in it, and then each board member's name, it says Elizabethton School Board on the back, and each board member's name is engraved in it as well. We brought those for you. We do appreciate you very much. Mr. Van Huss, I apologize. Yours is still being cut. I will get it to you.
I don't drink coffee. Don't worry about that.
But come on, guys, and you can hand these out.
Thank you. Hey, congratulations. That's awesome. Amen. That's great. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. And the other ladies, he can set it right there for her. How you doing, Caleb?
All right.
Get a
Slide in
picture?
there. Let's
Slide
get a picture right
yeah.
here.
All right.
This time I'll ask Dr. Newman if she'll come forward and introduce our CER curriculum review team members.
All right, I'm excited to recognize this group of teachers. They have worked very hard this year, and if they will come up, then I can explain kind of what they have done all year for us. So Amanda Barnett, Lindsay Massard, Amy Townsend, Rachel Bowman, Courtney Shelton, and Will Duggar. I think we only have two here, don't we? Yeah.
Quality.
So they're so busy they just couldn't show up, I guess. So what we have a consortium, a regional consortium, and it's called Comprehensive Educational Resources. And this consortium comes together and we build resources for our teachers. So our teachers, the ones that I named, they serve on committees or teams, and they either review or they create lesson plans that are aligned and vetted against our state standards, our state academic standards. So this is provides our teachers a place to go and to look at for supplemental materials to use aligned with our standards. So they've worked very hard. I know it's hard to create something and then also to vet other people's works to make sure it's aligned correctly with our state standards. And I appreciate their work. But this allows, because we're part of this consortium, it allows our teachers access to these resources, and then teachers across our region access to the resources. So they have worked hard. I think, Will, you served as a chair for a committee team, and we appreciate that. And so did Brandy McLeod, worked as a chair. So do you guys like to share anything about your work, or they, yeah?
I quite enjoy the ability to work with people from other districts. They have this group by grade level, so I was with two other people who teach 8th grade ELA. It's just always interesting to sort of get perspective from other people on what will best help new teachers, because that's sort of what we were encouraged to keep in mind when developing our materials. When I was as a young teacher, I guess 6 years ago. I feel like I've grown a lot in the couple of years I'll probably do it again next week. So we appreciate a nice wander for practicing what they preach in a lot of the learning together days by sort of creating a practical way for teachers of different districts to work together and kind of co-learn.
Yeah, it's a great PD for professional development for the ones that serve on the committees, and then it also gives us great resources for our teachers to use. So we're excited that we have people that are willing to serve on that. They only receive a small stipend for doing this, and then some professional development points and recognition. So we appreciate them doing such good work for us and representing us so well.
And I can tell you the feedback we've gotten from Niswonger is always so positive about the input that all of our teachers that are part of this team do. They're not only out there participating, but in most cases they're leading that work, and so we're very appreciative of that.
Thank you, guys. We'll get a picture of you, the ones that are here.
Okay. And again, special prize for you two for staying through the whole first part. So you all, they're starring your crown. But if anybody needs to leave, you're free to do as we move on into the next part. So thank you all. All right. It's next time for the director's update. So again, Mr. Van Huss.
Thank you, sir. Again, just wanted to ask you that you remember the Landon Lavoie family in his passing last week again, and funeral services will be conducted for him tomorrow. There'll be a memorial service at Elizabethton High School in the gymnasium at 5 p.m. So certainly, again, just keep them in your thoughts and prayers, certainly. From a positive standpoint, capital projects around the district, we've really seen, and many of you have been able to participate in some of these recognitions the last week or so. We've been working on a lot of things, been talking about them a long time, and now we're finally getting to see the end results on several projects. Obviously, the T.A. Duggar entrance project. Thank you for those of you that were able to be there. Just a great opportunity to see the work and what a positive impact it's going to have on T.A. Duggar, the student body and staff as well. And again, just how well it ties into the design of the building, the original design. And I just want to thank, obviously, Mr. Simmerly and the rest of City Council, City Government, the board as well, for allowing us to complete this work and providing the funds to do that. Also, we've had ribbon cuttings at both the baseball and softball fields. I can tell you that right now both teams are undefeated on the turf, so we plan for that to continue for a long time. But in all seriousness, it's two great surfaces for our students to play on, and will really enhance what they're able to showcase their talents as well. So again, thanks to City Council as well. At the baseball field, there was a component there that Boyd Sports helped with funding for that, and so we're very appreciative of all that. The CDEC, the Center for Engagement and Development for the district, that's the old Union Pharmacy building, continues to move along. The work in the alternative school portion is basically complete. A few more final things to do with some camera work. I saw guys down there working on that today, the technology department. So the plan is to move in furniture on April the 2nd, Tuesday, April the 2nd, when we return from spring break, and then students will start in that location on Wednesday. So we're continuing work on the other side that will house our professional development center as well as our family resource center. So we're starting work on that side as well. So again, lots of great things happening capital improvement wise. We're on the Regional Planning Commission agenda for the month of April for approval on the training facility at the high school. So things continue to move along there as well. Ballistic film on windows and doors throughout the system. That work will begin in May and should be finished by the end of June. We received our final estimate on the cost for the windows that we would like to do that work on, and it fits within the budget, the grant funds that we have. With a little bit left over, we'll use that as kind of a contingency fund in case there are issues with any of the windows and doors that are outside the scope of that project that we need to take care of to complete that. So, and then we also wrote into the grant some possible fencing and gating as well in case we have any of those funds left over. We'll push that toward those security enhancements as well. Thank you for allowing me to attend the TOS Legislative and Legal Conference in Nashville a couple of weeks ago. Again, you can imagine what the main topic was. A lot of talk around vouchers and the different legislative proposals that are out there, and how all that's going to play out. I certainly can't speak to that. I've been involved in listening to two different webinars with the Speaker of the House and other legislators about just answering questions and trying to explain that situation. And again, from my perspective, it's still certainly not in any way, shape, or form a positive for public education at this point. There's a lot of positive things for public education in the House version of the bill. The bottom line is we don't know what will be passed in the end. Both chambers would have to agree to that. And my fear is a lot of the positives that are in that bill that would benefit public education may not be there in the end. So at the end of the day, the information I've had, nothing has changed my opinion on whether or not it's positive for public education. The answer to that's no. That's simply my opinion. Solar eclipse is scheduled for April the 8th. And we spoke with the State Department about the possibility of using an inclement weather day for that, and we were given the okay that was an approvable use of that. So we've chosen to make Monday, April the 8th, a no school. That will be, again, an inclement weather day, and there are several reasons for that. Number one, first and foremost, is the safety of our students, especially our younger students. The timing of the eclipse is going to reach almost 90% for Elizabethton, somewhere around 88 or 89% of a total eclipse, which means there's going to be no safe time that you can view that with the naked eye. There's a danger of it damaging your retina, and so the timing of that is about 10 minutes after 3 on Monday afternoon, and as you know, dismissal for our youngest students, the elementary students, is 3 o'clock. So our fear is that no matter how much we talk to them about, hey, don't look up, don't look up. I mean, you just can't help it. If you tell a young child don't look up, guess what they're going to do? They're going to look up. Just can't help it. We explored some other options. We looked at the possibility of purchasing the disposable glasses that are supposedly approved for viewing the eclipse. The bottom line is, my fear is, number one, it's costly. Number two, there's a lot of, as you can imagine, imitators out there trying to make $1 off this, but that the glasses really don't meet the required specifications. So when you factor all those things in together, We felt it was best to do that. And the bottom line is, as you remember, we go an extra 30 minutes on the school day all year long to build up those stockpile days that we use for inclement weather and professional development days. So we still have some inclement weather days, so it just made sense to try to avoid that. And the eclipse that we had a few years ago, I can't remember if that was 3 or 4 years ago, we did the same thing. We were closed that day, so it's not unprecedented that we follow this same pattern. So just wanted to explain some of the logistics and the reasons behind that decision that was made. TN All-Corps, we have been a leader across the state in the way our district has implemented Tennessee All-Corps. And we were asked, the state sponsored a statewide conference focused on this high dosage, low ratio tutoring, which is again called TN All-Corps. And we were asked as a district for our team to present at that conference. And we were the only school district in the state of Tennessee that was afforded a keynote speaker time slot on there. So in other words, everyone involved in the conference heard that. It wasn't a breakout session where the participants could choose which one to attend, which I think speaks volumes to the respect that the state has for our educators and what they've done to implement such a positive program that's had just tremendous results and improvements on early literacy across the district. So I asked Dr. Newman and her team that presented at that conference if they would be willing to come and share just briefly with you a little bit of that work. We've talked about it a lot, but hopefully this will kind of give you a little bit more of a glimpse on exactly what's involved in the program and all the positive aspects to that. So I'll let Dr. Newman and Ms. McInturf, they can kind of begin and share, and the rest of her team as well. So thank you.
Thank you for allowing us to share tonight. We will not do the full presentation. We don't want to take up most of your time, and you know our system. You know how many schools we have in our system, so we won't bore you with that kind of information. But we couldn't do this. I'll just share that Mr. Van Huss and I sat and talked with Dr. Coons from the State Department. She is now the Commissioner of Education in Virginia. And when she presented this to us, we were like, there's no way we can't do this. We can't do tutoring. No one stays for after-school tutoring. If we used our funds for transportation, that's all it's going to go to. And we just didn't feel like there was a way to do this. But when she told us, you can do this during the school day, it was just like a light bulb went off for both of us. And so we had a vision maybe to do this within the school day. And that's how this kind of all started. So I'm going to let our ladies share a little bit, and we'll talk about our vision and move through it. So I think Rachel's going to start for us.
Hi, my name is Rachel Darnell. I am currently one of the assistant principals at TA Duggar, but I started my journey with TN All-Corps as the district implementation coach. So on the screen you have a quote from a parent. For TN All-Corps, we have gotten so many accolades and so much recognition, not just in our state, but across the country. We've had the New York Times talk about our program, the Christian Science Monitor, but at the end of the day, we don't do it for them. We do it for the kids who sit in our classrooms every day. And as a public educator, you pour your heart and soul into your classroom. You also pour all of your money and your hope, and you hope that something sticks. And the fact that parents can identify that there's been a change in their child has just been such a huge thing with this. You'll actually hear from Ms. Reed, one of our lead teachers. She'll tell you a little bit more about the parent perspective. But I'm going to let Ms. McInturf take it away with talking about what our program looks like in the day-to-day.
So this year, our program serves about 494 students. And like Dr. Newman said, that it's scheduled during the school hours, so we're not trying to get kids there before or after. So the most vulnerable students are already in our building, and we're able to reach them. It serves first grade through 8th grade. At the elementary level, there's already a school-wide advanced learning block or an intervention block worked into the schedule. So every kid is going somewhere. They're not being singled out for our program. Everybody's moving around, and that's when we serve them with the elementary schedule. The middle school schedule, they have everybody's going somewhere and we're not singling students out. I wasn't here in this position in August of 2021, but that's when the program officially started, and we're proud to say that we've shown growth with those students every single year. And one of the questions that we get asked a lot is, why did we implement before the state mandated that? We've had the Reading 360 training, the early literacy push, and we recognize that those are things that our students were missing. Two things were clear when we looked at the data, and it was that some of our students needed that intensive support to close those gaps. And with the research behind that, that high dosage and low ratio tutoring was the most appropriate fix.
So our story, like I said, started with Mr. Van Ness and I learning about what 10-all core stood for, what it was all about. And then when we heard that it could be completed or done within the school day, we started having this vision of how we could do it. But we also had to pull in other stakeholders into our vision. So we did that through using some of our funds, like the Best for All grant, to hire an implementation coach, and at the time that was Rachel. And she helped us to put our vision into a draft form so that we can have that vision to share with our principals, with our educational leaders, to help us to pull this vision together. So it took all of us. It wasn't just Mr. Van Hess and I. It was a team effort to make this happen and to make sure our educators and our administrators were on board with doing this additional intervention or tutoring acceleration program within our school day. So we started here, you can see, with just our leadership team, drafted a vision, and then hired our implementation coach, and then the draft vision shared with our school leaders, and we massaged that vision to come up with it, and we'll share that vision with you in just a few minutes. And then during this time, we developed a implementation plan. So we had this broad, high idea of what we wanted to do. But in order to make that happen, we had to have a plan for implementation. So we'll share some of that with you as well. All right, Ms. Rachel.
So when it comes to our vision, like Dr. Newman said, we had really lofty goals and big things that we wanted to accomplish. But I think it's true what James Clear says in his book, Atomic Habits. You do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. So we had big goals, but we needed a robust set of systems to make sure those goals became a reality. And on the next page, you'll kind of see some of the things that we put in place from the very beginning. When we started the implementation, we started by supporting schools and identifying students who would benefit from high dosage, low ratio ELA tutoring. These are students who were on the bubble, who were almost proficient but not quite, or maybe just past that proficient mark and were in danger of falling back. Students who needed to be challenged, students whose AIMSweb results showed that they needed a little more support. The implementation coach, part of my role in the beginning was to work with each school to kind of help meet their needs. But I really want to give a shout out to our elementary and middle school principals, because they made the time for,
They can't hear you online, so sorry.
probably for the best. But they provided the time for our lead TNL core teachers to, I was hoping we wouldn't have to do that. Am I on now? Okay.
Yes.
Our elementary and middle school principals really went out of their way to make sure that our lead teachers had time to collaborate with our classroom teachers. So students were getting the same information, the same high-level instruction every spot that they went to. And it wasn't always easy to find that time, but find it they did.
I'm going to throw in right here. Betsy, are you next? Megan's story. Okay, so this might be Lauren's slide, but if I'm stepping over you, I'm sorry. So our idea was to hire a lead tutor, or lead certified teacher. Is this your slide? It is, okay, sorry. I'll let you repeat it. No, I'm sorry. For each school, and then also some assistance. We'll stop there so that she can share that in a minute. Megan.
Hi, my name is Megan Reed, and I am the TNL Core Lead Teacher at Harold McCormick. And I have actually been with the program since implementation. So I've been there since we first started, and kind of we're getting things going to now where I feel like we are doing wonders with our students. So the best thing about the TNL Core groups is you're working with kids in small groups. I have a group of 3 students, and with that, you're able to build relationships with these students, and they're able to have someone that they can come to, they can trust. And you actually see that too, because students in the classroom, sometimes they don't want to speak up, or sometimes they don't have time to speak up. Well, in these small groups, they have that time. Their confidence builds. They're able to put in their input. And when they're able to do that, it's one of my favorite things. You get to see those aha moments where it finally clicks in their head, and they're like, I get it. Because like they were saying, we do see the bubble students. So those are the kids who are right on the line. And with the program, we can find those gaps where there's unfinished learning, and then we can build on those. And I had talked before about 2 students in particular. Last year I had a 3rd grade student who, when we started at the beginning of the year, I was really afraid she was going to fall down into tier. She was right on the line, and I wasn't sure where she was going to go. She stayed with us the entire year, and I'm glad to say that this year she is in the top of her ELA class in 4th grade. Like, it's been amazing to see. I had another student who was in 1st grade last year, and I did a small interim in kindergarten, so he was also my student in kindergarten for a little bit. And I had seen his struggle, his unfinished learning, and now he is still with us. He's been with us the last 2 years, and he is on grade level and thriving. I see it with all my students, but these are just 2 that stick out to me the most, where I've seen their growth. One other thing that I talked about is, so I can sit here and tell you all the good things from the teacher's perspective, but also I get to tell you about it from the parent's perspective, because I have an 8th grader at TA Duggar, and academically I've never had to worry about him. He's always been fine. However, when COVID happened, his ELA started to teeter, and it's not been his favorite. He's just had some issues. This year he was pulled into the TNL Core group, and at first I was worried. That's been his favorite class. He has loved going. His ELA has improved, like he's back to being my A student in ELA. He's even reading at home again. So, I mean, in 8th grade, it's difficult to be pulled out for something, but it's working, and he loves it, and it's just phenomenal. And I think that is all I have. It's always you, Rachel. Always you.
So I think it would be safe to say that anyone who's been involved with TNL Core for longer than a couple of weeks has a great story to tell about a student. So when we think about the impact of a program, we want to look at 2 different things. We want to look at that qualitative data, the stories we hear, but we also want to look at the quantitative and how do the numbers play out. Overall, we have over 400 students who are receiving ELA tutoring twice a week. These are on grade level standards and are very closely aligned to what they're getting in their Tier 1 instruction in their regular classroom. These 400 students are meeting in small groups of 3 or 4, so that means that they're getting to build a strong relationship with an adult in the building, something that is vital to student success for so many of them. And just the fact that there's a team working together to effectively and efficiently close gaps, it makes me excited for when my own little guy gets here to know that no matter what school he's in, he's going to have a team cheering him on. And I'll be honest, the data coming up, I did thumb wrestle Dr. Newman to present on it, but she won. So I'll let her take it away.
So we're excited that we can see results from our efforts. So these are the 3 things that we looked at with just our students that were receiving TNL Core tutoring in ELA. So we looked at if they were moving from one proficient, if they were not proficient on TCAP, on the ELA portion, if they moved up to proficient. And then we just also looked to see if they moved up from like maybe below to approaching. And also we looked at if they made growth. So we all know the adequate growth or the TVOS model that's out there. We looked to see if our students were making growth. So this is an average over the last 2 years. We don't have data for this year currently yet. So we'll add that in and average it in when we get that. But this is for 21 and 22 data, or 22 and 23, 22, 23 data. So we had 24% of our TCAT, our 10 all-core students to move from not proficient to proficient. And then we had 36 of our students move from up from a proficiency level. So they may have been below to approaching, maybe approaching to proficient, maybe even proficient to advanced. And we even had some students that went from approaching to the mastery level to the advanced, or meets expectation or exceeds expectations. So we can see that everything that we're doing, 10 all core is not the only thing we're doing, but it's one of the things that we're doing that's making a difference in students' lives. So we also looked at our overall ELA scores. So we wanted to share with you this. So we can see in 2019, that's pre-pandemic, and where we were scoring, where we were scoring in each grade level. And then the pandemic happened in 2020. So we do not have scores for 2020 because we did not test. Then in 2021, that's the red, you can see how our students struggled with our ELA assessment at that time. And then in 22, we implemented a new ELA curriculum. We implemented 10 all core. We had 316 foundational skills training. We had a lot of things going on, but you can see all those things work together to help us to close those gaps with ELA. So you can see here in 3rd grade, 4th grade, and 5th grade that in 2022 and 23 that we either met or exceeded pre-pandemic scores. So if you go on to 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, we did that as well in 6th and 7th grade. In 8th grade, we did it in 2022, and we had a little slide in 23, but we are working on that to make sure that we have growth this year.
And I'm going to talk about the lessons learned. It's not all been perfect. It's taken a lot of hard work. And I think this was one of the most beneficial parts of the presentation when we were presenting to others trying to implement was where did you fall and then how did you come back and bounce back from that. So we were intentional first, and that goes from who was hired in as the lead teachers, the scheduling, the programs that we were using, everything aligned to that vision and was very intentional. The second part was if you want to go far, go together, and because of the scheduling that was so intentional, we were allowed to provide PLCs to our TN All Core lead teachers. So there's one at each school, so when you're the only person in that school that does that job, it's hard to collaborate or plan. So the principals in the district provided time for them to come up here, meet in person together, plan, talk about things, discuss what was going well for them and where they were struggling. So they got to collaborate on that twice a month. When we tell people that, it just kind of blows their mind because they would love to have that opportunity, but it just doesn't work in their schedule. So we're happy to have that. You hear high quality instructional materials. What I think is very unique with us is everything that our lead teachers and our assistants are doing in small groups aligns perfectly to the Tier 1 instruction that they're getting in the classrooms. This is not a separate program. They're not reading things that we're just pulling offline. These are materials that come from their Tier 1 instruction. And then communication with stakeholders. It's very important that our lead teachers talk to the classroom teachers, that we're talking to parents, that they fully understand and can support what we're doing in the small groups. And we've pulled in our technology, Miss Carrie Taylor and Marcia, and we've done videos for parents, we've done videos for the students. just keeping that open line of communication, because if we're not all on the same page, it's hard to get something to be productive.
I just want to say this is one example of the incredible work that's being done in our schools. And people want to criticize public education, and I'm telling you that there's some of the best work going on right now that's ever been done in public education. What's different are the students and their experiences, both positive and negative, that they come to us with. That's what's different. I mean, our people couldn't work any harder than they do now, and I'm just very appreciative of their efforts. And again, there's lots of great things going on. We just wanted to highlight this one to kind of give you a glimpse into that. So thank you all very much. One last thing on my report. Spring break starts, I guess technically tomorrow at 2:45 or 3 o'clock, depending on where you are, or maybe 4 o'clock for those of us here at the central office. But we certainly hope that everyone has a safe and enjoyable spring break, and we'll see students back on the 2nd, and staff will be back on the 1st. So, thank you, sir.
All right. And thank you for the report and all the information and just seeing the success. It's all about our students, and we appreciate all of that. Board members' reports. Anybody? We didn't really have a lot on the go this past month, so we'll move on. Mr. Simmerly, City Council Liaison.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight. And I would like to request to go back to high school. My wife tells me I break a lot of things, and I really believe I'd be good in that robotics class.
Yeah.
I break everything I touch, my wife tells me. So that was a
You
great
may have been an
pre-
astronaut. Who knows?
I could have been.
Yeah.
Yeah, missed my calling there. What great presentations. These children, I tell you, it touches me. Just to listen to these presentations. I read it in the paper. I was kind of let down though. We didn't get fed tonight. You know, we had the cooks here.
We'll work on that.
Wow, but what things we have going on in our school. I mean, I'm an old man, but we didn't have anything like that when I was in school. It's incredible. Well, it is money time. It's that time of year. I know we talked a little bit earlier, but we will be working on our city budgets, and I've been told we're going to have a lean year this year. We as a city, as well as a school system, we have a lot of projects going on. We've got a lot of outlays that we'll be paying for, and I'm not saying it's a lean year, but we do not want to raise that word taxes. So we want to try to spend within the money that we have. But again, we'll be starting our budget process here next month. We go each year down to Gatlinburg, and for 3 days we lock doors, turn our cell phones off, and we argue. No, we discuss. But anyhow, we'll be starting on our budget workshops as well. So just I know you guys are working on yours, and just want to let you know what we're doing with ours. I did want to say, and over lunch, Mr. Van Huss, I thanked him personally. But again, I want to extend to you, as part of this city, a big thank you. Thank you for the jobs that you do, managing your finances, keeping your books correct, straight. I'm not throwing any rocks, but we have some problems. But those problems are our problems. This might be a city school system, but we're all county taxpayers, so it impacts all of us. And so, again, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for the job that every one of you do. Last month, we did go down to the State House. We met with our state Senate. The legislature, our legislature was here in town running for another office at that time, so he was not in Nashville. But we did meet with Mr. Crow, and anyhow, we discussed with him the voucher program. It appears, or at least he led us to believe, it looks like it's going to pass, but he said there's going to be amendments. Those amendments, he was telling us, or at least leading us to believe, that would be protecting the school system. So I don't know. It could pass, it could not pass. We don't know. Obviously, we gave him, the copy of the letter that the school board signed, and I'm sure Mr. Van Huss has given that as well. But we told him we did not want him voting for that. We told him, hey, he's our representative, and this is our school system, and we do not want our tax dollars going to support private enterprise. It's not fair. It's not right. It's not right to our students, not right to our teachers, and not right to our program. I'll get off my soapbox, but I just want to tell you, we put our 2 cents worth in for against the vouchers as well. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. And Miss Hannah, tell us what's going on.
Hello. So there's a lot going on right now. I know even today there's so many different events happening within our city schools. There's a track meet, tennis match, softball, baseball, soccer, band concert tonight. So much happening. I'm trying to get to it all. But first of all, I wanted to send my condolences to Landon Lavoie's family. Right now, there's a student-led T-shirt fundraiser, so you can go to the Elizabethton High School social media pages, and there's a flyer with a QR code. So if you scan or click on that QR code, you'll be able to go to the website and place an order. And there's also an address to send checks to the school. The students have worked really hard to get this going to help the family with funds for the memorial services. So just consider that. And then also, myself, along with 3 other students, got to go to the TSBA Scope Conference in Nashville at the beginning of March. I think next month we're going to be recognized, and we'll present more on that, so I'll save that for next month. And that's all I have today, so thank you.
Okay, thank you, thank you. All right, it's time for the regular agenda. We have the one item. It is to approve dual enrollment agreement between Elizabethton City Schools and Tennessee College of Applied Technology Elizabethton for the 2024-2025 school year. Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
All right.
Well, we have obviously a couple people that are very familiar with TCAT, but I asked Mr. Colbert if he'd be willing to come up and talk a little bit about the dual enrollment grant with TCAT and some of the opportunities that have been opened up to us, and just kind of explain what this agreement entails and how it will positively impact students.
Okay, thank you. And again, sorry Ms. Schaff is not here. Here she's on vacation. I think she got a dog before she went to the beach, named the dog Shark, so I'm not really sure that was a really good idea. But in the meantime, okay, so I did not know we were doing this tonight until a little bit earlier today, so sorry I don't have a big PowerPoint presentation, so just imagine me doing Schoolhouse Rock, the Brian Colbert version. All right, so how do we get dual enrollment with TCAT? And again, several of you obviously know, so I'm preaching to the choir. Dual enrollment has not always been available to freshmen, but the state changed that a few years ago. So in the past, dual enrollment's just for juniors and seniors. Thank you to Governor Haslam for opening up some initiatives to get kids some money for that years ago. And each year things are getting even better for that type dual enrollment with community college. Walter State, Northeast State is where most of our kids go. About half the high school, for example, will take at least some class either in high school as dual enrollment, or they'll go to Northeast State after they graduate. But TCAT has been a little bit different. So over the years, Elizabethton High School has not had much with TCAT until this past year or two. So the new laws have allowed freshmen to be involved with this, and so we have opened up the doors as best that we can to get more kids in dual enrollment classes. So what we did was, for example, here's your Schoolhouse Rock version of how all this comes about, is we have met, our teachers have met with their teachers to go over the curriculum. The best case example I can give you is we have some students in our welding class, or not, excuse me, it's not a welding class, in our ag mechanics class at the high school that do a little bit of welding. So those kids want to do welding, but TCAT does not, they already have so many kids in their welding program, that was not a good match for us. And even in our ag mechanics class, they don't exclusively do welding, so we couldn't do that. So we had to make it a good match. So Mr. Agan and I met with some folks at TCAT to go over, well, what does our curriculum best align with? So, for example, starting next year, we will align the second course of the Ag Mechanics program of study with millwright, because that basically is what he does. They do a little bit of everything, a little bit of welding, a little bit of small engines, diesel engines, a little bit of carpentry construction, just literally what it sounds like. That's basically the millwright program at TCAT. But for his level 3, again, it'd be nice and easy just to keep it at millwright, but we felt like his level 3 class best aligned with diesel technology. So we're going to do a dual enrollment for the level 3 kids in Mr. Agan's room next year on that. Because again, we're just trying to make it match, trying to make everything line up. So that's how we've gotten where we've gotten. Now the classes that the high school is doing right now with TCAT is automotive with Mr. Lindbergh, computer science with Mr. Klebinger, and I'll pause for a moment to say that that was the one I sadly would admit I was a little bit worried about at first, but that's really been a home run. They really like what Klebinger's doing in his class. So that was kind of a unknown as the year started, but it's worked out sensational as the year has gone on. So the dual enrollment there was, we did not think maybe was a perfect alignment, but what he's doing, he's made it a perfect alignment. So credit to Mr. Clevenger for changing just a little bit maybe of what he was doing, but it's turning out great. And the kids will take a industry certification on that in the upcoming weeks, and suddenly I forget the name of that. But we also have construction. This is the first year of construction, so we didn't have a lot of kids in there to start with, but now that we do, so our MEPS program with Lee Cole, and as well as our STEM program with Mr. Lee, which was obviously here earlier with all the robotic stuff. So those are the 4 that we are doing already, and next year we again hope to add some things in agriculture and so forth. Now, all this stuff takes some time. So for example, Dr. Morehouse is helping organize the grant. If you saw Ballard Health on the news back in late January or so, announced that they got $250 million from the Bloomberg philanthropy organization. They don't have that money yet, but you get the idea. So all those things are taking place. So we've had all kinds of meetings about that. So there will be dual enrollment even with TCAT on that, but obviously it's not ready. So as an example, some of these things do take time. So in meeting with him, it's just simply we just can't do it by August. So that's something we'll do for our health science students starting 25, 26 year. So granted, there is a little bit of a wait time for us to get some of these things up and running. Also, I would mention, since I've already mentioned Dr. Morehouse's name, there was a CTE directors meeting today in Hawkins County, and he went over some data, which I wish I would have written the numbers down. So sorry, but I didn't think I was doing this tonight. I'll give you the summary of it. So the Brian Colbert Cliff Note version. Since he's also working at ETSU right now, there was a study done several years ago of how many dual enrollment classes ETSU had. And again, I'm going to miss the numbers, so just bear with me. Give or take around 15, 17% of kids in our region were doing dual enrollment with ETSU. So they try to promote it as best they can. 15 years later, it did go up to about 18, 19%. So it barely moved. The needle did move, but it was ever so gradual. What they found most disturbing about the data they were collecting was that those students had a very low percentage of going on to a 4-year college. So the dual enrollment kids at Northeast State were not staying in school as we all thought they would. If you're doing dual enrollment in high school, you're dually enrolled, high school and college, the assumption was they'll be on the fast track to get that 4-year degree. Not necessarily. However, if you look at dual enrollment at TCAT or another trade school, the numbers were 3-4 times greater. So those kids that are doing dual enrollment at TCAT really did go finish their programs. So we do have much better bang for the buck for the dual enrollment opportunities that we do have with TCAT. And again, it's my understanding Dr. Morehouse will go over that information with the superintendent sometime next few weeks. So Mr. Van Hess might actually take notes. Sorry, I did not take any notes today.
I'll fill in the gaps.
Yeah, you can bring us back the numbers. So sorry about that. Is that enough? Do you have any questions? I know there's a game coming up at 9. I had like a 70 PowerPoint slide I was going to use, but
Anyone have any questions for Mr. Colbert? Thank you.
Okay.
All right. Questions, comments? Item is to approve dual enrollment agreement between Elizabethton City Schools and Tennessee College of Applied Technology Elizabethton for the 2024-2025 school year. All those in favor say aye. Aye. And any opposed? And there are none. Next regularly scheduled meeting will be held on Thursday, April 18th, 2024 at 5:30 here in the Mac Pierce Boardroom. Going to get a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Have a good evening.